Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Fat Pregnancy podcast, YouTube. Who knows where we'll go with this? Where we talk about pregnancy, birth, and parenting in all of the glorious body types that exist, not just the ones that medicine was built for. I created this podcast, YouTube. I'm creating it because I'm really tired of fat folks being left out of the story. And especially in birth. And this is where I hope we have the space to change that. I'm Christina Hughes. I use she, her pronouns in case you don't know who I am. I'm a fat positive birth worker, educator, course designer, mom. I'm neurodivergent, chronically ill, um, disabled, all sorts of identities I bring with me. I started Big Fat Pregnancy in 2020, really 2020, but because of the pandemic and kind of all the things that I was working on, I didn't really get it started until 2022. And I started with traditional hands-on doula work. So I worked with families of all sizes, backgrounds, abilities on their journey to becoming parents, most of whom lived in larger bodies or came from a background of eating disorders or difficulty with medical advocacy, and really started Big Fat Pregnancy as a movement and an educational platform to let folks know that they can birth in bigger bodies with ease, right? I think there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of rhetoric, there's a lot of weight stigma inside of the birth world that really keeps folks who live in larger bodies from thinking, one, that they're able to have a pregnancy that's either non-complicated or that they can even get pregnant in the first place. Shout out to Fat Positive Fertility. If you are trying to conceive in a larger body, that is her jam, Nicola Salmon. She's lovely. I encourage you to check her out as well. I just felt like going through my own pregnancies, I was very, very fortunate to have a doula, to find a doula who was fat positive, who believed in my ability to birth in my own body. And I worked really hard to find someone who shared that belief. And my experiences with her and birth in general, having two kids of my own at home, um, the way I wanted to, the way I envisioned, um, really inspired me and empowered me to show other people who live in bigger bodies that it was possible. And not only was it possible, that we could do it with joy and fun and lightheartedness, and we could be celebrated like people are in smaller bodies instead of constantly worrying about gestational diabetes or the next scan or baby being too big or all of the things that can often come from myths and really scare folks either into things or out of things, depending on the situation. I really started my journey to fat liberation and birth work um, probably, gosh, maybe 10 years ago now. Um, I got really tired of dieting and trying to look the part and be who I thought other people wanted me to be or who I thought I needed to be. Um, Physically, mentally, emotionally. I realized I was neurodivergent. I have quite a few chronic illnesses, and all of this kind of together drew me into the framework and concepts of liberation overall, and how that plays into all of the things in our society: racism, capitalism, patriarchy, weight stigma, all of it. And I combined that kind of personal exploration, my own experiences with birth, my credentials as a doula, my credentials as a adult educator. I have a master's in adult education, and kind of put those all together so that I could figure out how weight stigma was harming pregnancy care and what we could do about it. Um, I think that I used my personal experiences navigating healthcare as a fat person, as a disabled person, as a person who was constantly told and made to believe that everything that was wrong with me was in my head, or I was told that because of my size, something wasn't possible, right? Something wasn't possible. I was told it was going to take years for me to get pregnant, and I would be lucky if I got pregnant in the body I had. Well, guess what? I got pregnant. I was very fortunate. I got pregnant right away with both of my children, and I had complication-free pregnancies and births. So really all of these experiences have really shaped the mission of Big Fat Pregnancy, which is to make care more inclusive, make pregnancy care more inclusive and more human, because the world's hard enough, right? We need human connection in everything we do, I truly believe, especially in maternity care. Um, the space that I hope to build, the space that I bring folks into, is built on compassion and kindness, and really, I hope a place for folks to feel validated, for them to be able to talk to me, talk to other people in my group, so that they know that they're not alone, right? That they're not they're only the only one out there who's fat and pregnant and doesn't know what to do, right? Doesn't know how to approach things. Big Fat Pregnancy really started because I wanted to create the space that I needed and couldn't find when I was pregnant. I barely had any friends who were pregnant. I don't think I had any friends who were pregnant at the time, let alone any friends. Why am I saying friends? That's funny. Any friends who lived in larger bodies. So for me, it was like Google was my best friend, and that was a really scary place. And I knew that I needed to find other ways to navigate this pregnancy, or I was gonna lose my mind. So I focused really hard on positive birth stories, positive home birth stories. If I could find any folks who lived in larger bodies or who would talk about it, I got really annoyed and terrified and scared going into those big like baby bump chat rooms by due dates or like plus size pregnancy groups on Facebook, because it was all scary, right? Everyone was telling their horror stories. Everyone was telling how everything went wrong and were forced to do this, or they thought they had to do this. They, felt that way. And I was like, I can't surround myself with this, right? I need something different. And so for me, Big Fat Pregnancy is, yeah, I'm a doula, right? I provide doula services, but the core of Big Fat Pregnancy, it's a movement, it's a resource hub. It provides fat positive education for both families and birth workers. It provides inclusive tools and courses, and really just a strong reminder that fat bodies don't need fixing. The system does. And I value bringing in fat liberation. Every body deserves care without condition. I believe in informed consent, your body, your choice, your voice. I believe in intersectionality, which is acknowledging how race, disability, neurodivergence, trauma, how they all of the things intersect with fatness in healthcare. And then when you add on pregnancy, that's just another layer. And then joy. Big Fat Pregnancy focuses on joy. Fat people deserve to experience pregnancy, birth, and parenthood with celebration, not fear and shame. So I am so just deeply connected to this work, and I want folks who are out there who feel alone to know that you're not alone. I think that some of the biggest some of the biggest things that I've seen change with my clients who either use my tools or my advocacy or hire me as a doula, right, is just the ability to have another voice in the room who believes them, who knows their lived experience, who knows that being fat impacts how they show up in the world, and making sure that they know that they have another voice behind them, right? Or a voice for them if they feel like they can't um do it on their own, right? And someone who believes them and who is educated about what the research says, not what our bias or this is the way we've always done it, right? Tells us we should or shouldn't do. So my hope is that these times that I come together, whether this turns into a podcast or just YouTube videos, is that fat parents, birth workers, people who are trying to get pregnant, who live in larger bodies, people who believe in better care in general, I hope that this becomes a space for you all, right? I hope that throughout this time that I use this platform, right? We can work towards dismantling weight stigma in healthcare. I can share real birth stories from my clients, from fat parents who've been through it, who've done it joyously. And even if we've had complications or things that exist, right, we moved through them, and we knew at the end of the day, or my clients knew at the end of the day, that it wasn't because of their size, right? That this thing happened. And there's several client stories that I definitely want to share where things didn't go perfect, right? And the parents, in talking to them afterwards, still really had a positive birth experience. And so it's really about the quality of care, the respect you receive during your maternal care, your pregnancy, your birth, your postpartum, that determines how you reflect on your experience, how you perceive your experience. I hope that this space can provide practical advocacy, right? I want you to be able to find, demand, or create size inclusive care, depending on where you are and what you're doing. I hope eventually to bring other folks in, experts, activists, people who are doing it right, to talk about their experiences as well. And my hope is to mix in what I believe is like my style, which is a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of interviewing, a little bit of research, but always with some humor, because we got to keep it light, some honesty and some love, right? If we go deep, we'll also bring some joy or some dark humor to it. You never know. Trauma has made me funny sometimes in ways that I shouldn't be. But you'll leave each episode or each time, we gather together here feeling a little bit more informed, a little more powerful, and a lot more seen. That's really my goal. Um, I, at the end of the day, I want fat people to stop walking into care spaces expecting shame. I want providers to see fat bodies as normal, deserving, and whole. I want birth workers to be equipped to serve every client without bias or fear. And I want us, community, to find joy and power and belonging in our own stories. Big Fat Pregnancy connects to everything that I do in my life, and I'm so damn proud of what we've accomplished so far, what there is hopefully to accomplish in the future. And I want this space to be a reclamation of fat joy and beauty and just everything. I'm going to um, go through some topics, I guess, in the next couple weeks, that I think are maybe the top comments that I get from my clients or comments I get on my Instagram, about either providers suggesting weight loss, um, and also what to do when your provider suggests something that you don't agree with, or you're a little what goosebumps raise, right? And you're like, that doesn't sound right. We're gonna share some stories from fat birth clients who have had real experiences with experiencing joy. And we're gonna go through some of tips, the top tips and the top myths for birthing in a larger body. So it's gonna be some great, great information coming up, some great stories, some great guests. So I hope you subscribe and like and do all of the things so that you can stay in touch. Everything will also be linked down in the notes. And my hope is that we're going to talk about stuff that no one else will. And we're going to do it with compassion, a little bit of rage, or maybe a lot of rage, and joy. So, really, thank you for being here. Truly, if you're listening, if you listen to this far, it means you care about creating a world where everybody belongs, in birth spaces. So make sure you're following me. Join me on Instagram at Big Fat Pregnancy for resources, community, and things coming up. And I look forward to seeing you in the future. And remember, BMI is made up, and it's your body that really matters.